Hey everybody, I wanted to talk a little bit, just spitball about the different sources of masculine influence and masculine advice specifically available online. So there's a bunch of different types of advice that you can get online, right? There's guys like Andrew Tate, there's David Goggins, there's Joe Rogan, there's Jordan Peterson, all these influencers that talk about masculinity, and I want to talk about how they relate to the masculine archetypes and like who should we trust, right? Because we've all seen Andrew Tate videos that make us feel uncomfortable, and we've all seen Andrew Tate videos that we admire or agree with, and that same probably goes for Joe Rogan, Jocko, Jordan Peterson, David Goggins, down the list, right? So first thing, and I get this question a lot, is should I listen to Andrew Tate? What are your thoughts on Andrew Tate? First of all, just to say some positive things about him, I think he's got a hilarious sense of humor. I've got a similar sense of humor. He's very impressive in a lot of ways. He's very intelligent, etc. But the problem with him and guys kind of in that red pill world who give some version of advice, which is like, you have to really control women. They're all inherently broken. You got to drop them. If they do X, Y, Z, you got to drop them and never look back. You got to keep them on your toes and keep them at a distance. It's all coming from a place of brokenness and hurt, right? And I think in Andrew Tate's example, this is pretty easy, right? He grew up with a single mom, a psychologically disorienting dad, if not outright psychologically abusive. And so he would have grown up with probably a very volatile feminine influence in his life that he would feel pretty powerless with. And when you grow up with that chaotic feminine, like the overstressed single mom who's really over-nurturing one minute and then kind of attacking you the next minute, you get this major complex with the feminine where you're afraid of being overpowered by it. And then you seek out women who you can control so you never have to feel that sense of threat from the feminine. So a lot of his advice about women, it will work with women at the bar that you meet, and it'll work with broken and naive women. But Andrew Tate's advice is not actually going to get you to a healthy long-term relationship where you're both feeling really fulfilled. So it kind of hits on some of the key archetypes, right? That the warrior archetype that all men need to activate in themselves. He hits on the king archetype, but he's actually expressing the archetype of the tyrannical king, right? So he's more Scar than Mufasa. And that's not who you want to model your life after. And you can see this playing out in, a lot of the dark stuff that he, I'm not even saying the accusations, which may not be true. I mean, the stuff that's confirmed, his background in webcams and all that stuff. He's an expression of the dark tyrannical king. And that is a pursuit of power, not a pursuit of love and fulfillment. And so if all you want is power, Andrew Tate is a good model to follow. You will have a good chance of achieving some level of power, but you will not achieve fulfillment, peace, contentedness. You will not look back at your life and be happy. You will look back at your life and likely be filled with regret. So that's kind of my thoughts, my very short thoughts on the red pill community. These are basically insecure men who are afraid of women and seek to control them. And part of how they do this is they find broken and naive women that they can control, they can keep at a distance, they can keep afraid enough that they behave in the way that they need them to behave in order to feel good about themselves. A major step up, no, I'm going to go somewhere else first. Kind of the opposite of this, which may be less damaging in the short term, but I think is even more damaging in the long term, is like kind of that therapeutic nice guy, that super feminine, you have to understand women and men are inherently toxic and men need to be more feminine and men need to express their trauma and men need to be in touch with their emotions. And there's truth to all that, obviously. I work a lot on trauma and emotions and learning how to express them with the guys that I work with. But putting on some awkward looking robe and wearing wooden prayer beads and talking about masculine, feminine polarity all day while hugging other men and crying is not actually going to get you to go where you want to go in life. This is kind of an expression of the lover archetype, which is king, warrior, magician, lover. Those are the four masculine archetypes. And that over-identification with the lover archetype and even that kind of impotent lover where you can't really, get it going and you're overly feminized, that's another direction that a lot of guys go when they're trying to understand women, understand themselves. And again, it's not the whole picture. It's not going to get you where you actually want to end up in life because It's taking a small piece of what it is to be a healthy man and it's putting it at the very top. And the king archetype needs to be at the top. The warrior, the magician, the lover, if you balance those properly, if you have a good integration of those archetypes in your life, the king archetype will emerge and you can live from that place. But putting the lover archetype at the top of the hierarchy, it makes you somewhat ineffective and useless as a man. It makes you attractive to women in terms of friendship and in terms of opening up to you emotionally. But it doesn't actually make you attractive to them sexually. It doesn't create that polarity, right? A woman wants a man who has an edge, who has that warrior archetype, who has that authority, that sense of a bit of controlled danger to him. That's what women are actually looking for. So the soft, airy-fairy, prayer robe wearing man who talks about feelings all day, you're going to get a lot of friends and a lot of women who leave you. You're not going to get a woman who wants to stay with you. Well, now going from the unhealthy forms of masculine advice, right? The red pill, Andrew Tate community, the overly soft, feminized, talking about your feelings endlessly and hugging men while crying community. Those are kind of the two negative ends. Now going into the positive sources of male advice, those guys who help you activate the warrior. If you look at mythology, if you look at whatever your favorite action movie is, or your favorite hero movie, whether it's Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter or whatever it is, there's a point early on in the movie where somebody helps the man activate that warrior energy, because a man cannot be a king until he's a warrior first. The warrior has to happen first. A boy cannot become a man until the warrior is activated. And that's why every culture in the history of Earth, except for ours, has a warrior initiation built into it on some level, right? The closest thing we have is like, to an initiation ritual in our society is like prom, which is not exactly a comprehensive masculine initiation ritual, to say the least. So you have to activate that warrior archetype. And this is where, you'll get Jocko, David Goggins. It gives you much of what you need to begin the journey of becoming a man, but it's not going to get you all the way there. You cannot be a full man until you've activated the warrior archetype, that ability to protect, and not only other people, that ability to protect yourself, to stand up for your opinions, to say what you believe, even if it has negative social or career consequences. You have to have that warrior type archetype activated as a man. So go to those videos of Goggins and of Jocko and activate that part of yourself. It's really, really important. Work with coaches who, treat you like a drill sergeant, and they're yelling at you, making you do hard shit, getting you used to overcoming and going to the gym even when you don't feel like it, and doing the cold plunge even when it sucks, and working hard even when you don't feel like it. You have to develop that ability as a man to be a full man, but it will not turn you into a full man. It is a piece of the puzzle. What you need and what I am trying to be a part of, and what we need to really get men back to a place where they can lead society to a place of abundance and peace and connection and love, is a fully integrated, strong man. And what that requires is the king archetype, right? And in my view, and you can read a great book called The King, Warrior, Magician, Lover, King, Warrior, Magician, Lover, something, the male archetypes. I've read it several times. I had the author on my YouTube channel for an amazing discussion. You can check out Matt N's The Sovereign Man. You can just search that on YouTube and it'll come up. But those are the four masculine archetypes. And in my view, and this is just my view, the warrior, the magician, and the lover have to be balanced in order for the king to emerge. And balance means something different for everybody. Some people might be 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. I'm very strong in the magician archetype and then the warrior archetype, and I have a relatively small lover archetype. So for me, balancing those, I might be 15% lover, and that might be where my balance is, and maybe 50% magician and 35% warrior, whatever it is. And when I stay in that place, the king archetype emerges. And what you need for that is, yes, the warrior has to be activated. You have to be able to do hard shit even when you don't want to. You have to be able to pull out your sword and say no when you need to. But you need more than that. You need to be able to step into that lover, that softness, when your daughter needs you to, when your wife needs you to, when your employees need you to. You might even need to step into that lover archetype when somebody's losing their shit on you in public and you can see that it's just coming from a place of hurt. Sometimes meeting it with the warrior energy is the wrong move. Sometimes you need to get soft. Now, there's other times when you need to come over the top with the warrior energy, but when you integrate these archetypes, you learn when to do that. And What makes the king different is that he is not like the tyrannical king, the Andrew Tate, the red pills, trying to overpower people so that their emotions don't threaten you. What he's done is he's mastered his own emotions, and he can meet those people in a place where their emotional state does not destabilize him, right? The crazy person at the grocery store does not destabilize you. Your wife right before her period does not destabilize you. Your daughter having a temper tantrum does not destabilize you. Your boss or your employee being in an agitated emotional state does not destabilize you. You have internal emotional sovereignty, and you're able to bring that king energy to the world in a healthy way, where you're balancing your ability to be the warrior with your ability to be the lover, with your ability to be the magician, to be to be thoughtful and introspective. And I don't find that there's a lot of advice out there that really teaches men how to be a comprehensive man in this way. There's some really amazing stuff on how to activate the warrior, and I love those guys, and when I need that, I still go watch all those videos, and I admire those guys from the bottom of my heart. But the only person who's really bringing the magician archetype into the masculine world in a big way is probably Jordan Peterson. And again, love him or hate him, he's very good at teaching men how to go inside of themselves, understand themselves, take a look at their own resentments, make a plan and a vision for the future, strategize. These are all magician archetype factors. And so my encouragement to you is, when you watch red pill guys who are very good at making you feel insecure about yourself as a man, right? Andrew Tate, best example. He's got the Bugatti, he's got the hot women, he's got the mansion, he's got the power, he's intelligent. They'll play on that insecurity to get you to follow their path, but it's not actually a path you want to go down. That's the path of the tyrannical king with the serious mother wound, basically. That's why these guys are so threatened by women, and why they need to control them and keep them at a distance. But take the good stuff from Andrew Tate, right? Look at guys who are more comprehensive and have that king energy, right? Joe Rogan is a good example. Jocko, even though he's very warrior heavy, great king archetype. But balance that, have some Jordan Peterson, that thoughtful introspection, and recognize that part of becoming a king in your own life is not following the path of one person who really looks cool or who makes you insecure because relative to him you don't feel like you're matching your own potential. But it's to piece together these different things in a way that matches your internal composition, right? Maybe you are a very strong warrior archetype and you need 10% Jordan Peterson. Maybe you're like me, where you're a very strong magician archetype. You need a lot more of that kind of thought. But find these different sources of advice and play around with them inside of your own mind, inside of your own heart, until you figure out, okay, this is kind of where I want to go. This is the vision I have of who I could be. And take a bit of all these different guys online and integrate them inside of yourself into a vision that you've created. Don't try to be Andrew Tate. Don't try to be Joe Rogan or Jocko. Don't try to be David Goggins. Don't try to be Jordan Peterson. Take the pieces from each that will help you to get to the place that you want to get to. Because I've done this myself, and I've worked with so many clients who they get to a place based on somebody else's idea for where they should go, based on somebody else's ideal of what it is to be a man, and it's not satisfying when you get there. And what I want to be a part of with the Sovereign Man movement, my company, and with the coaches that I'm working with, is this new model for masculinity where it's a balance of these things. It's the wise king, not the tyrannical king. It's the warrior who's protective, not aggressive. It's the lover who's connected, not weak. It's the magician who's thoughtful and strategic, not withdrawn and distant. And if you balance those archetypes, and if you seek out masculine advice from people who embody that king energy, that healthy, wise king energy, that's where you're not only going to end up at a place that you like, but you're also going to enjoy the journey, and it's going to enrich you on an individual level, on a financial level, on a relational level. It's going to enrich your family. I don't mean financially, I mean emotionally, all the ways. It's going to enrich your community, your nation. It's going to enrich the world, because you're doing this in a healthy way that's balanced at all of these different levels. And that's what I want to encourage everybody to do. Recognize that a lot of these men who give advice online are not complete men. They might not even have the life that you want, but they can make you feel insecure with their advice. So don't fall into the trap of your insecurities causing you to follow Andrew Tate when your heart is teaching you a different version of who you could be, a different version of masculinity, a different version of what the king would look like. And so I hope really hard, and I pray, and I try to be an example of that, at least to the level that I can. But I hope this is helpful for you as you select, who do I actually want to follow? Who do I want to work with? Who do I want to emulate in my personal life? Like, choose that for yourself. Take the good, ignore the bad, and recognize when these distorted archetypes of the tyrannical king rather than the wise king, of the masochistic warrior rather than the protective warrior, are trying to prey on you in social media, because there's a lot of that going around. So hope this was helpful. Love you all, and enjoy the rest of your Sunday.